Vanessa, I recognize you, and I'm excited to talk to this gentleman. Can you introduce yourself quickly, then him, and let's jump right into this.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Vanessa Bezzy, the founder and president of the Wildlife Conservation Association. We've been doing water quality testing here in Nosara for a few years now and have been looking for solutions. And I'm really excited to connect the whole community today with Eduardo. Eduardo works with a company called Bionest, and actually I'll let him introduce himself properly.
And coming on, we're excited to have you. We've been hearing so much and we're getting a lot of questions, so the timing's perfect. The high season's starting. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome, and good morning to everybody. Eduardo Berrocal. I've been working with Bionest Technologies. Is a company based in Canada. We've been in Costa Rica for over 11 years now, and an excess of 700 systems installed throughout Costa Rica and about 40,000 systems throughout the world. So we are very excited about this program, and we want to do everything we can to help, improve the environment in that area.
So Vanessa, go ahead and transition us. We've talked on this podcast so many times, so I don't think we need to recover the same core issues.
Yeah.
If we could do like a short, quick overview description, and then if you guys can cover a couple different Nosara specific things for Bionest, that would be great.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do that. I think that the very quick and simple explanation here is, there's all kinds of challenges that we face when it comes to wastewater treatment. Every single property is going to be really determined on a case-by-case basis what solution works for you. We've talked a little bit briefly with the community about compost toilets, incinerator toilets, and Bionest has been a really popular option. And so I wanted to reach Bionest and ask them to share with us a little kind of a quick summary of how this system works and what what makes it unique and what also makes it such a popular option for people here in Nosara. If you could kind of touch on some of that, Eduardo, that would be great.
Yes, definitely. But first, starting, what's the real problem here? The real problem is that the government is not capable of giving a solution for the community. So what happens is that the easiest way to do wastewater treatment systems is just go with the septic tanks. If you have a septic tank in a single area, it's not much of a problem because the environment will take care of it. But once you have a large, dense community, definitely you're going to start leaching that sewage water into your underground and into the ground to the sea. So the only way to resolve this is to treat the water before it goes into the ground. And that's what we do. Our system started in Canada as a single home systems, far away from the community systems given by the government. So that's our specialty. We are probably one of the few companies in the world that specializes in single home solutions. In the case that we have talked about in these areas, the idea is that those houses or homes that have been installed with a septic tank, it becomes the first part of our solution. As you can see in my background, there's two tanks in the system. The first one is just a septic tank. It's a class settling tank. Many times it's not very well designed. That's why we have to go in a case-by-case analysis. But once you set up the septic tank, instead of going to a leaching field, then you place a bioreactor in front of it. And the bioreactor will take care of the water that is contaminated and transform it into water that is reusable. And that's the end of it. You have to produce water that is not environmentally with impact and that you can reuse it. Basically, we reuse it in irrigation. But in countries where the water is very expensive, we can also use it on recycling and in toilets as well. It's not for human consumption, but the quality and the characteristics of the water is odorless and clear. So it's the best way to recycle the water.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. I think that's, for me, something that makes Bionest so special, that the water that comes out the other end of the system is actually basically completely clean. And that's really exciting for us because we know then that we can reassure that the dirty water will never end up in the ocean.
That sounds fantastic. I just want to speak for people listening. They're going to be thinking, okay, this sounds great. Planet Earth, we want to respect it, but it costs money. Can we just get right to the point for a household? What are people looking at? Because Here, prices are going up on construction. There's all types of problems that happen along the way. Well-intended people, I'd like to think almost everyone wants to do this. I also think most everyone's worried about the price. Can you talk us through all of this and give someone listening like an understanding of what we're facing if they want to do things the right way?
Yes, of course. Price is one concern, of course. And the other thing is that whenever you say wastewater treatment systems, people think about those big systems, smelly systems, ordered everywhere, and maintenance and everything. And that's really not complicated. Our system is basically, you can imagine it as substituting or replacing a septic tank. It's the same thing. In a house, in a single home house, let's say for 6 people, we can do it on a single tank, which is a little bit larger than a septic tank only. So in terms of installation itself, it's not complicated. It's exactly the same as installing a septic system. Of course, there's technology into it. We have to put into the system not only air diffusers and the Bionest media, which is the one that produces the biomass that is going to take care of the digesting all the contaminants. We try to do it as affordable as possible to people. So we have range of prices depending on the situation and the location and the access and everything. But you can think that it's going to be somewhere around, say, $5,500, $6,000, somewhere in that range. What makes the difference? It depends on the tank that you can use, because sometimes you can use a plastic tank, but in Nosara, typically you have a water bed that is too high. So then we have to put a prefab concrete tank. And that means we have to bring a crane truck to lower the tank on site. And there are also other considerations. If you have already your septic tank and it's well designed, then you can save probably in the range of $2,000 out of that price. So it all depends. But that gives you an idea. We're not talking rocket science. We're not talking extremely high cost.
Yeah, let's pause right there, because that's important. If it's not that much more money, why wouldn't someone do it?
Well, because it's easier to put a septic tank. Then you don't have to have maintenance. You have to have, I mean, it's easier and cheaper. And people, I mean, a septic tank can be maybe, instead of the $5,000, it could run into the $2,000 cost range. So it's basically a cost thing. The other thing is enforcement of the regulations. Right now, there's new regulation on site, on place, where you cannot put septic tanks whenever you have the water bed too high, which is the case in Nosara and Bionest. So that regulation came out like a year and a half ago. So before that, people, when you just go and put a septic tank, which is a lot easier, and the construction guys are going to say, okay, don't worry, put the septic tank and you solve that problem. You're really not solving it. You're transferring that problem to the sea and to the community.
The challenge you have is people accepting something new.
Exactly.
I think so. I wanted to take a moment to thank Eduardo for bringing that up, because I think that's what's really important here, is for us all to recognize that none of us have this correct. If someone really came tomorrow and started inspecting and enforcing even laws that exist, many of us have systems that are just completely inadequate. So if you are by the book, this is not something that you do. It's something that actually really needs to be done. And as you can see, the cost difference isn't that big. So for a lot of us that can afford homes really in the Bionest area, this is just a small percentage of that cost. And in the end, in the long term, you're investing in the future value of your property as well. Obviously, as we're contaminating the ocean, that's going to be a huge impact on our economy.
How long do the systems last? Is it a temporary? Does it need maintenance, or is
it
something?
Yes, everything needs maintenance. Even a septic tank needs maintenance. But one of the things that we do as a company is that we do provide the maintenance to our systems worldwide. It is not something that we sell the system and run away. We will be married with our customer forever. So what's the maintenance cost and how often do we need to do it? On a single home system, we do once a year. Cost in Nosara is about $150 plus tax for one visit. And in that visit, what we do is we check that everything is working fine. We have to clean up some filters. We have to make sure that the air pressure is there, because the pumps are working 24/7. And the pumps, they have some membranes that need to be replaced, let's say every 2 years. So those are things that we have to keep on top so that the system is going to be producing water quality.
Just saying under $200. Did I hear you right?
Yes, that's the annual cost of it.
Okay, now you've done thousands of these worldwide, 700, I think you said, in Costa Rica. What are your main challenges? Like, what are your what's the most difficult thing about this product and all of this? People are going to wonder this stuff, and if they understand it, I think they'll embrace it. Right now, it's unknown, so people are wondering. Like, for example, in Nosara, a lot of stuff in Nosara doesn't apply elsewhere in the country. And people in Nosara are just so used to that to where, like, all right, I don't care. You could have done 1 million in Dominical, but nobody cares here. So if you want to get Bionest, if you want people to embrace it, just face this stuff and tell us, like, what's the negative?
Basically, it's a very simple system to install and to serve. Most people, why they don't consider is because they don't have in their mind that there's possibilities to be environmentally friendly on a home. And they think that septic tanks is the way to go, or that is a problem that the government should provide. And many people are saying, if the government doesn't provide it, I'm going to do it, whatever my construction advisors say. From the operational point of view, there's basically no challenges. I mean, as I mentioned, we have about 40,000 systems working worldwide. We don't tell the homeowners to change the way they live and use their house. They do the paper into the toilets, they clean the house normally, etc. So a normal use of a house is not a problem for the system. We have, actually in Nosara, we had a case where we installed a system in a house, and suddenly they were saying, okay, but this system is giving some smell and problems. And we were wondering, because happens very rarely. What happened is that they converted that house into an Airbnb. So they basically had a little hotel. The laundry was being used every day, largely. So in those cases, what we do is we put more air, we adjust the system, and everything runs well. So those are the strange cases that
makes sense. That makes complete sense. And here that happens a lot, Eduardo. People think, oh, I'm just doing this house, and then they start renting it out, and then it does turn into a factory. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick. Sorry, and say Eduardo's installed 75 systems in the area now. And I can speak for myself. We have a system on my property. The water table was just too high, and Bionest has followed up every year for maintenance. And we actually use it for irrigation, and there's no scent at all. But every system is going to be tailor-made, right, to your situation, how you're using the property, and especially how many people and how much wastewater you're generating.
Vanessa, is it complicated? Like, if there's elevation, that's something someone just asked me a couple minutes ago. I was excited to talk to you. And they just said, please ask them about elevation, because they want to get the system, but then somebody told them with your elevation, maybe it's not applicable, and there's some confusion. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
If they're talking about elevation in terms of going uphill or something like that, not elevation of the waterbed, because those are two different things, there's not a problem. We are in the mountains around the area in Nosara. The tanks that we're bringing from the US are certified for septic installations. There are plastic tanks that we can go by hand and install it by hand. We don't need a big truck to reach up here in the hills to install a system. So elevation is not a matter in terms of installation or the product or the operation of the system itself. Actually, the lower the elevation, the system works better, because the warmer the temperature of the environment, the system works better. So elevation is not a problem in either for installation or either for the operation.
Thanks, Eduardo. Yeah, and I think it's important too. This is not a passive system. So most people, the septic tank, a leach field is passive. And so you need to have kind of a slow slope towards the end of your drain field for things to flow naturally. These systems, because they do have electric components, if you needed to, you can add pumps or whatever to move. For example, I rely on an irrigation system that requires electricity and a pump to then recirculate that water and reuse it. So again, everyone's going to be in their own situation, but there's solutions, I think, for everything that may just affect a little bit of your cost.
Yes, definitely.
Is there any time that your systems just doesn't work? You're like, oh, this isn't a good fit, outside of just you have to pay more to get everything to function properly? Is there ever a time where you're just like, don't want to do this one?
If the house operation is a regular house operation, it will work everywhere. Mm-hmm. If you don't have electricity constantly, we have customers that have placed the solar panels into it. Mm-hmm. Actually, we have a customer in Playa Grande. He's in the business of solar panels. and he wanted to use the solar panel for our system and only the solar panels, not using any batteries or anything, because the sun exposure in that area is very high. He's basically using only the solar panel. He's not using any electricity at all. He's off the grid all the time. The system is working very, very well, because what happens is that you stop the sun at 6. Well, you don't stop the sun, you don't have any sunlight at 6, but then you have very little discharge in your system overnight. And the system has a retention time of 3 days inside their design. So basically, when the sun comes up next day, you still have air into the system, and that has worked out very well. However, we have certifications for the system, but it has to have 24/7. And our certifications in Canada and in Europe will give you a yield of 98%, meaning that the water is perfectly reusable. We actually are 3 times better than the minimum requirements by the Costa Rican government.
That's awesome.
Here's what I heard. The system almost always works, and it's just a matter of cost to make it function. And your biggest challenge is you're doing something new that people aren't used to. And Vanessa, getting more into some of our talks in the past and Nick's talks, Nick's philosophy, for example, let's pick on him. He's like, well, the homeowner needs to know more than the builder. And he really believes that. And I just listened to him say that. I'm like, Nick, I see what you're saying. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm also just saying it's not going to happen most of the time. It's what Eduardo said. They just go with what the builder says. The builder just goes and does their thing. They're like, hey, listen, I don't know how to build. I'll listen to you. And then when the bills are adding up, it's like, wait, another $3,000? We could do this for $2,000, or we could do it for $5,000. Let's just get this done. We'll worry about that later. That's my opinion. Is that accurate?
Yes, but remember, you're part of the community and you're responsible for the environment around you. And of course, in Nosara and Bionest, the golden hen is the sea, is the water, is the beach, is going surfing. And if you're going to get contaminated in that area, it's going to happen what has happened elsewhere, in Tamarindo and Jaco and many other places where the water quality for you going to the beach is terrible. So are you going to invest in a place where your home is going to devalue because of the environment that is not very well done or taken care of? That's the problem. And the solution is fairly simple. Of course, I can say it because I'm the promoter of the systems, but at the end, it's like replacing a septic tank, really. You're going to have a little bit more expense on electricity. Yes, of course, but you're protecting your environment, you're protecting your family, you're protecting your house.
Last question for me. Replacing this in an old home. Talk us through that, because in our area, we have a lot of old construction, and well, we have a lot of new construction too. We just have a lot of construction. Talk us through that, please.
Retrofitting the septic tank is fairly simple. If certain things have been done, we try to use, of course, the septic that has been installed, but many times the septic that they installed is terrible. It's very badly designed. So many times we cannot use it, but if it is fairly well done, what we do is that, as you can see in my back, the septic tank has to have 2 chambers. And many times they don't do the 2 chambers. So what we do is that we put an extra tank that will do the second tank of the septic tank, and then the bioreactor. So there are different solutions to it. We can adjust to whatever there is. I mean, the worst case scenario is that your septic tank is so badly done that we have to replace it completely. But in many times we try to use it because we try to lower the investment, of course.
The best part is that Bionest has been super generous to offer residents of Nosara a discount, and you get a better discount if you get others to join you on your order. So if you want to have a system installed for 1 installation, you can get 5% off. And then if you group together and order between 2 to 5 systems, then you can get 10% off. And if you get 5 or more people to order together, you can get 15% off of your system. So not only is this more or less affordable for most of us, but it'll be even more affordable if you talk to your neighbors and get other people to make the switch with you. I'm going to be sharing a link, and we have a QR code, so you can share that with your family and friends, talk about it. And basically all you have to do is go on the form, fill out your contact information, let us know if this is going to be a new system or a retrofit of an old system. Let us know how many systems are a part of your order. And there's also an option in there to indicate if you're interested in financing. And Banco Nacional has also offered to finance these systems. So they'll be in touch with you if that's something you need more support for. And Bionest will then reply and reach out to you to give you the specifics for your home system, give you a more precise quote on how much this is going to cost in your situation.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And remember, you don't have to be afraid. The assessment of what you have in your house is free of charge. We're not going to charge to go and take a look at your system. We do it all the time. We have technicians all around all the time. So it's something you have nothing to lose. Go and see how much it's going to cost to transform your house into an environmentally friendly house. We're very excited, as I said, to go into this program. And we can offer all the experience and technology to everybody at an affordable price. If you go to the US and buy the same thing, it's going to cost you twice. So it's a bargain to do it here in Costa Rica at that price.
Yeah.
We appreciate you both. Thank you. Any last words or any quick things that you need to get out there?
Vanessa?
I think that's everything. I think, Eduardo said it right. There's really no excuse not to at least ask and find out more. It's free to get it checked out. You lose nothing looking into it, and encourage everyone to share your stories. If you already have a Bionest system and you have a good experience, or even if you've faced challenges, tag us on social media and we can share those stories as well.
Let's do that in 6 months. At the end of this high season, Vanessa, let's circle back. Eduardo, you come back too. And let's report back exactly how it went. Like you can say, listen, no one's buying this thing. What's wrong with you, Nosara? We need more inspections. Or it could be the other way and we get success stories. You know what I mean?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Good luck. Thank you. Fingers crossed. I really appreciate you both a great deal. Thank you so much.